This is going to be the overview video of your new Gill pontoon boat with the Minn Kota electric motor on it. Underneath the rear seat is the battery charger. There's also a little holder here for the charge cord. And this is the circuit breaker for the motor. The circuit breaker needs to be in the tripped position, which is by pushing in this red button prior to charging the batteries. That will ensure that there's no chance of turning the key on and having full charging output power go to the motor while the charger's plugged in. So again, trip this breaker by pushing the red button so that the yellow handle is exposed. Then you can go ahead and get your charge cord plugged in. When you first plug in your charger, you're going to see all the lights flash briefly, and then you'll notice the lower level of lights here is an amber color, and that says full charge, charging, and that means that it's putting out full output. Very shortly thereafter, now they're going to blinking amber, and then after that they will move up to this second line here, which is full charge, or the float setting as a maintenance mode. They will go to flashing green when everything is fully charged and ready to go. The top line, which is a red light, that came on briefly again when the charger was plugged in, but that says check connection on it. And what that means is there's an issue with the charger, or there's an issue with the fuses that are on the batteries, and the charger is not actually outputting when the red light is on to that specific battery. Now each battery has a numbered fuse on it. So this is battery 1. If you're looking out the back of the boat, this is all the way on your right side while you're looking out the back. And so that's battery 1, 2, 3, and 4 to the left. And this one is also labeled house. So this battery also does all the items inside the boat, such as all the lights, the radio, the winch on the front for the anchor. So because of that, there is an additional fuse here that is for the boat side of things only. And then, like I said, each battery has a separate fuse holder for each charge lead, positive and negative. And if one of these fuses were to go bad, you would see that check connection light on. That's what they look like when they're in good shape. If that center U-shaped section is burned or anything, that means the fuse would be blown. The other reason that that check connection light would be on is if the voltage drops in the battery below 8 volts, the charger will not recognize the battery, and it puts the check connection light on. But the first thing I would do is check the fuse. Secondly, you can check the voltage in the battery. If one of those does drop below 8, you can charge it separately with a manual charger. And again, it's typically the house battery that would go down. If a light is left on, or any thing on the dash is left on, that will draw that battery down lower than the other 3. So over on the we're going to go ahead and unplug the charger, by the way. Then to operate the boat, you're going to go in and click that circuit breaker closed. Now you can go over and turn on the key to your control. When you first turn the key on, there is the 99.9 hours shown That's your available runtime. And then the fuel gauge on the right side is your battery level. So whenever you come off the charger, you should see that all the way up to the full mark. When you push the throttle forward, it shows you your percentage of throttle, and then your hours will drop down from there. Now again, this is out of the water. They will be dramatically lower in the water, and depending on your throttle, that will show you 2 to 4 hours of actual runtime on a charge. So when the key is on, the power tilt also operates, and that will raise and lower the motor. And then over on your dash, you do have a switch here that says courtesy light, but we've also tied in the trim gauge to that switch because there aren't any available switches with the additional options that you have on the boat. So as you hit the trim, that will go on up from there. Unless you're in shallow water or in a weedy area, you know, you always want the trim all the way down. And it will shut off when you get to the bottom there. And then on the rest of the dash features here, you have a horn. You have your navigation lights, which in the left position is the red and green on the front and the white light on the top. In the right position, that's just the rear light. In the center is off. Again, courtesy lights. It turns on the side light on the helm, and then also powers the trim gauge. Docking lights are the 2 headlights up on the front. Stereo will turn on the power to the stereo unit, and then you actually do have to press the button to turn that on as well. This is a Bluetooth stereo. You can do that through hitting the mode button, and then you can either turn it off with the switch or turn it off with the switch up front. The other thing to note, this is a USB and auxiliary input port, and this is also only on and, you know, powered when this stereo switch is on. So if you're not actually using that port specifically with the radio, there is another USB port, a dual USB port on this side, which is powered all the time. And then this is the RAM mount that you can slide your phone into there and hold your phone, or and charge it from the port. This other switch down below here is for the deckhand anchor winch on the front. I'll talk a little bit more about that when I get up to the front. The other unit here in the dash is the Garmin GPS fish finder unit. There's a little power button there on the bottom left, and then you just turn that on and you get the menu there. If you're just doing traditional depth, you would just hit the check box there, and that'll bring you to the standard depth screen showing water temperature, battery voltage, and again, if it was in the water, the depth would be shown there. There is a book on all this in the owner's package, and you can change a bunch of different settings in it and go through all that. And but for simple operation, just go to the main screen and that'll cover most things. The steering wheel is a tilt wheel. There's a button here that you push down, and then the wheel will tilt up and down. The windshield is a quick release windshield. If you ever need to take that off, just turn these wing screws here 90 degrees and they'll come undone. Underneath the rear corner seat, there are 4 life jackets, 1 throw cushion, and 2 bumpers. Underneath the side seat is your ladder. Be careful taking this out because it's kind of a tight fit. Basically, these unfold, and this hook will clip in. I'm just going to pause this. So putting in the ladder kind of takes two hands, but basically that little J hook, you will rotate the ladder into the boat and then get that clip to slide under. And just when you fold it down, make sure both clips are underneath there properly before you use the ladder. There's a snap here on the side, and then it'll fold down to go into the water. Underneath the front seat on the left side is the anchor. There is 50 feet of rope, and there is another clevis for the chain in the front. SOS flag, flares, 2 dock lines, and then a extendable paddle boat hook combination. Under the right front seat is the mooring cover, the 2 posts that go with it, and the table. And then the table leg is in the back there. The table base does not come mounted from the factory. It's in the owner's manual package. It's basically your choice where you want it, if you want it. We have a lot of people that don't ever even mount a table, but one of the more common locations is in the front. Some people like to put it on the side gate. Some people do put it in the back corner, but it does take up space back there when the table's in use. But there's 5 wood screws included in here that you can just screw down in the deck and mount that wherever you choose. The deckhand that's on the front here, once you get the boat in the water, then you can install the anchor. And there's a clevis here that this will unscrew. You can put the anchor in. One thing to note, if you're stuck, or basically anytime, you want to make sure that you can pull the anchor loose before you actually power up the deckhand, because otherwise you can run the risk of damaging this if you're really stuck in a rock or something and you try to power that in. There is a switch on the unit itself as well as on the dash, and then as a reset on that, there is a circuit breaker just directly next to the switch. So if it was overloaded, that will allow you to reset it. So just make sure that when you're using it, when you're, it's in the up position, that the anchor is out of the water. There is a safety hook. This short piece of chain here is the safety, and this side of it will go to the anchor. The other switches here, I guess that I did miss the blue ice switches. That turns on all the blue lights in the cup holders, as well as the speakers, the rear lights that are on the pontoons, and then the side lights underneath the side rail of the boat. The bimini top is currently in the travel position. There are latches here to unlock this, so you would lift that up, slide this arm forward, and then you can raise it, and that is the normal position there. The short arm gets folded up against the top, and then it stands in a vertical position. So you'll clip the longer leg, which is stored down here, into this rear hook here, and then you can open up the bimini top once you unzip the boot, pull the top forward, and then these straps will hook on the side rail of the boat. The only other thing I will note, the mooring cover has snaps all around it here. These little cutout flaps with the Velcro, those will go around the top hardware here on each side. So once you find the corner, then you can kind of work your way over, and sometimes it's easier to go front to back, sometimes it's easier to go side to side. It depends on if you're going out the front of the boat or out the side of the boat. You know, it's depending on where your dock is. But the covers on these boats, because of the color, they do tend to show any dirt and mildew. So it's very important to keep them clean and keep them dry. If you're in a shaded area with a lot of, you know, trees, debris falling on the covers all the time, it's important to keep them clean because they will, you know, show the mildew and dirt on them. So whenever you can, you know, don't put the cover away dry or leave it tucked away, you know, don't put the cover away wet or leave it wet underneath the seat. Try to get it back on the boat and get it air dried out. That should about cover things. The motor will be in the down position for travel, and that's the best way to do that. The other thing, the circuit breaker underneath the seat here, it does serve two purposes. So it's meant as a disconnect to isolate the motor while charging the batteries, but it also will function as a circuit breaker. If there's an additional, you know, higher load than normal on the motor, it will trip that breaker and that arm will pop down. So again, if you're charging the boat, you should have this yellow arm out. When you're using the boat, you'll click it up and that will turn, you know, make it so the key will turn on. If you go to turn the key on and nothing happens, it means that this circuit breaker is in the trip position still. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call. The store number is 518-399-2880. Thank you.